on, guy, I think. United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today we're going to be starting off with a presentation for our hearing. Whenever you'd like to start. Okay. Good evening, everyone. It's going to be a tough crowd, I can see that. No one said hello. It's okay. We can communicate. We can talk, all right? It's going to be okay, trust me. Really. So, my name is Kelly Donahue. I'm the Assistant Director of Emergency Services for Clinton County. I'm also the past president of the New York State 911 Coordinators Association. And I started my association one day at our meeting, the official business meeting, and I said, you know, when people call 911, they're calling it because there's a reason, for the most part. Not everyone has a reason for calling 911. There are abuses, but we resolve some of those abuses. However, when you do call 911, we need to know where you are. When 911 first started, we used to ask the question, what is your emergency? But they transitioned several years back to say, where is your emergency? Because we realized throughout 911, throughout all of New York State and the United States, that if we don't know where you are, we're not going to be able to get the help to you. So there's a saying on my wall. Now I'm going to change God to Creator, because I don't know anyone's background of faith. Mine is Christian. That's who I grew up with. I had many different experiences in my life. One of them was in ministry. So I have on this wall saying, you may know where you live, and God or Creator may know where you live, but if we don't know where you live, your God and Creator should be on good terms with you, or you should be on good terms with your God and Creator. Because the reality is this. In essence, we try to do our best at the 911 Dispatch Center to get the assistance and help to you. So, reason why I was asked to come here actually, I don't always come to the public hearings, but I'm honored and thankful that I was asked. So Jen, thank you for allowing me to be here to talk a little bit, to explain to you about 911 and what it's about. Anyone know when it started? I'm looking at some people with hair like mine, because it was a few years back. It was in the 80s. Mr. Jim King, who was the director at the time, encouraged the legislators at the time, and then encouraged the villages, towns, and cities to say, hey, look it, we need to get 911 here. It can help. Because anyone remember what happened when we used to call for an emergency? You dial your phone, who would you call? A 10-digit number for police, for fire, and EMS and fire were usually together. So you'd be calling a 10-digit number. And then transition came along when 911 came. Because what they were striving to do is make it so that it's one number that someone had to remember, not all these other numbers. And that can be a challenge. So Mr. King went through and tried to push that. Well, eventually he did. And it was voted in for legislation. Guidelines and rules and regulations were established to help establish it so that we can get 911 activated in the community. On top of that, Mr. King at the same time pushed to have a better radio communications established for our county. Because we were using a, I believe it was a low band. Low band? My memory sometimes sifts on through. It was low band with, I think there was only 2 channels, maybe 3 at the time. Then we were able to talk through to get a radio communications established through the 800 megahertz system. And now that's trunked, and we just replaced that old system with a new system several years back. So, number one problem with any incident, anyone know what that number one problem is? You didn't think this was a question and answer time, huh? It was communications. Lack of communications. It wasn't that we couldn't communicate, but there was that lack of communication. Understanding and knowing what was going on and being able to describe it and using plain English versus codes and things. So with that comes the 911 system that was established, and they went through all the towns, villages, city to be able to get everyone to buy in. So roads were named, established, sometimes they had to be changed, transformed. Not all communities bought in fully with the buy-in on the roads. I'm going to say it right up front because you have some of those in your community just as well as others do. What I have done since I've been here, and I came in 1997, so I did not establish this. If I established this, if I was here and asked to do a mission, I can guarantee you there wouldn't have been duplicate or sound like similar names within a community. Back then it was fire district and postal district. Those are the two things that they were trying to establish to make sure there was not sound like similar names or duplications. But some of the towns, city, and villages pushed back. I get it, I understand. No one wants to change. But 911 is not like the post office of past. Anyone remember the post office? Anyone ever live in a rural route? Okay, one. Anyone? Okay, with rural routes, what do you have to do every so often? Change your mailing address, because they changed the district, the postal district. So the reality was, then you had to change everything that you are, rightly so, that I saw in a petition that was passed around, concerned about. I get that and I understand that. When I had to move, I was in the same boat as many of you. Now, I'm not a long-standing individual that lived in a house for 50 to 40 to 30 to 20, oh well, I can say I've been 20 years now. Would I want to change my address? Absolutely not. That's the last thing I want to do. I get that. But I had to, and I used to have to, and it was every few years I had to do it. So I understand the struggle. There's some good points you make with regard to what you might have to do. But I'm going to go to some of those points, and I'm going to tell you where you don't have to worry about it, because there's a system that's in place to help make it easier for everyone to be able to transition to. You don't have to do it like bam, it's done. Right? It's a transition. It would be a transition. One of the reasons why I brought this up, and I bet you this went dead again. Sorry. Can you make sure, Tom, that you just touch this to, or it doesn't die off?
You can change the power settings on there so it doesn't.
I did.
Oh,
And it
did it anyway.
Yep. You know, extended time vision. I have no time with it. The county system, the county networks, because it's tied to the system.
Every time you back
With the meeting here. I said,
Yep.
get on with the meeting.
So,
Yeah, really.
I don't have to explain where you live, you all know where you live. But here's Lake Street here. Here's Edgewater Drive that goes into an open field. I assume that when this was created, the desire was to make sure that if this was developed, that this road would go into that development. Then you have Lakeview Ave here, which starts at Edgewater, proceeds north, west, more west than north, all the way around here. Now,
That's not correct.
what is correct?
Woodhaven is that P. Lakeview is only to the.
Stand by one. Lakeview Ave goes to here, Woodhaven goes to here. What I will say is numerically, it goes from the beginning of the road all the way around. So when I saw that, and it was ultimately this area here, when I had to issue an apartment number for this location, it's technically an apartment, but it's a separate structure from the house.
But it's
So
on,
I had to number that off Edgewater.
that's a different, that's Lake Street though. That falls into.
This
that's
is Lake Street, this property.
right, that's 310.
This particular structure is accessed off Edgewater Drive. So because of that, the number needed to go off Edgewater Drive. That's the way the 911 numbering has been established. So,
But, okay. Now,
can we let him
310,
finish his
now
presentation
310 Lake
before
Street
the questions?
has a mailbox on Edgewater Drive, okay? And if you go up maybe 20 feet, you got one Edgewater. So you got 310 Lake Street and one Edgewater. Does that make any sense?
No, it doesn't.
Well, that's the
Quite
way it
frankly,
is.
well, I'm not the post office. I did not allow that. I'm 911. So, here's another thing. When you get a letter from me identifying your address, physical address, I now identify that by law, and I bet you many in here do not know the law for codes, when you build a new structure, your 911 number should be on that structure, somewhere's on the structure. Not only that, it should also, if you can't see it from the road, be at the entrance of the driveway to that structure with a physical number on the signage. So that way you know where you're going. I can tell you, I do the roads, I run the roads all the time, I issue numbers. Many people do not do that. Now, let me finish and then we'll go into open questions. Numerical wise, it goes all the way around. Lakeview Ave ends here. Woodhaven Drive comes all the way around to this location. The only sign for Woodhaven Drive, my understanding, is at this intersection. I did not have time to drive up, but someone had told me the only sign was at this intersection. Technically, there should be a sign here saying Woodhaven Drive to identify, denote where it begins and where it ends. There's also, from my understanding by the real property design map, that there's a 50-foot right-of-way. I'm trying to look. If anyone has questions of what I'm talking about, between 27 and 25, so 25 is here, 27 is here, there's a 50-foot right-of-way to go off into this field if there's ever development done for that. Initially, I thought Lakeview Ave would be that street. We'd be at a moot point at this point. However, it's over here. When developments are done, sometimes there are paper roads that are established. Woodhaven Drive, when these were, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding was this part was the first section that was established and built. Woodhaven came afterwards. If I were the 911 coordinator, I would have then pushed Lakeview Ave to go all the way around. That would have been my thing. Why? Because you have Lake Street right here. And so I would have pushed for sound like similar names not to be there. So with that, what I also saw was all numerical, same system numerically wise. I said, it doesn't make sense for me not to bring this up to make changes in transformation. You have some good points I want to bring up.
When you're done with that petition, can it be handed to the trustees?
Yep.
Thank you.
Is there a copy too?
We don't have another copy. That's the original because it has all our signatures
Okay.
on it.
Chris, what you can do is make me a copy and just email it to me, and that's great. Thank you. So, the first thing is about the house numbers at the end of the road. 3 Edgewater is right here. The main access is off Lakeview Ave. It's not off Edgewater Estates. Not quite sure why my predecessor even established that as 3. But you have 1 Lakeview Ave. So, what should have gone there is 2, not 3 Edgewater. So, hindsight 2020. I assume this was built before Lakeview Ave. So, we also have an empty lot here that needs a number, that has no number.
It should be 1.
That, when someone puts up another structure and it has access off that road, I needed a number. That's the number. There's no ABs for me in this system.
The access is on a boulevard that belongs to the village.
Correct. Driveways,
It's,
all of our driveways, most of our driveways go onto an access that is owned by the city, village, town. So, that's access. So with that, these 3 structures, I'm struggling with what their numbers are. And so my proposal was, and it's not a proposal, 911 is gonna have to do this to be able to establish it and make things correct in the 911 guideline and system. This would become 10, which is across from 11 and 9. That makes sense. 10 is across from 9. Odd on the left, even on the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Granted, they're not perfect in the system, but if we are going to do something, we're going to make the appropriate changes. So I am looking at 10, 8, 6. The reason why I'm doing that is that way no one is going to get confused with 4 and 2 for any future mailings, because 2 and 4 have been utilized.
Can I interrupt you a second?
It's important. It's important.
Can you
Would you
read?
like to be interrupted, or do you want to finish first?
Might lose
You
our
may
vote.
want to listen to this.
Please.
I'll listen.
Can you read the public notice that you
Yes.
sent out? Because you're saying you're changing numbers on Edgewater,
Yeah.
not on Lakeview.
You-
So you caused the problem, and now you're saying you're just changing on
This is how we
Lakeview.
find it confusing.
So
Read
when
the
that
public notice.
Please read
So
it.
when that public notice is there, guess what? Things are not perfect,
That's-
right?
And that's why
So-
we're confused.
I've been living,
All right, I understand.
At
So
4
let me
Edgewater-
clarify then, right now. Edgewater is, the only thing that's changing from Edgewater is that 3 Edgewater Drive. That's the only thing. 3 goes to this parcel.
and all your,
The others go 4, 6, 8, or whatever
So they're not
6,
touching us.
8, 10.
Correct.
The way-
6, 8, 10.
the way that lot is, the empty lot, you're gonna build a house on there probably eventually. So that is probably gonna have an access onto that Lakeview.
Okay, so do you
So-
want me to change all of the
So
numbers?
that's,
I'm trying to come up
It's-
with a proposal.
The proposal
And what I
is-
would recommend when the zoning occurs, that the driveway for this house should be off Edgewater, not off Lakeview Ave, to cause concern or confusion.
But I thought you said this wasn't a proposal. You said it's a proposal, but it's not a proposal.
For 911 numbering, it's not, because I have to correct that situation right there.
So that's not even up for discussion.
That's
This
not
is-
up for
This
discussion.
is just you playing God.
No, it's not me playing God, it's me doing my job as a 911 coordinator.
Well, I guess
I've-
the word
I've-
It's a federal law.
proposal is very misleading.
It is,
Unfortunately, it's a
and so
federal
guess
law.
what? That can be corrected. That can be corrected.
No, I think for the purpose of this meeting, the word proposal is incorrect.
For the numbering, yes, and I did say that to Chris, I said initially, and that's not Chris's problem. He had asked me, is this good? And I looked at it real quick and said, well, we're gonna have that discussion, so yes, move it forward. But then afterwards, I looked at it and said, it's 911 numbering. That needs to be done for the availability and movement forward. So that if anything's ever done, might as well do it now because I recognize it and knew there's an issue and a problem.
Yeah,
Yes,
just for
ma'am.
clarification, I guess there's a lot of folks in here that are concerned about the name change of Lakeview Avenue. If you're simply proposing a few house numbers changing and not, if it's a proposal to change the name of Lakeview Avenue, and we have a voice, this is gonna change the situation in this meeting, obviously. So I want to bring that up.
I do get that, and I understand that. I am actually proposing that because, and I realize there's more people here,
17.
but there's not the duplication of wood in this community. So that's why I was proposing to leave it Woodhaven, unless you can tell me otherwise.
But there's Pine,
There's
and there's
Pine.
Pine View Avenue.
So yes,
I
listen,
mean,
we open up a can of words, I could go beyond. This is what I recognize, and this is why we're here tonight.
need to.
We can move forward to eventually put things on the way that some things in this community should be improved upon.
did you get a
Numbering wise
complaint?
and
Some
naming
things are just
wise.
fine.
Did you get a complaint regarding the house numbering or anything regarding the Edgewater or?
I noticed
Lakeview?
this a while back when this was going. What we are doing in the county, we're going through and doing structure points.
Right.
So when I went to look at this area, there were some red dots that say to me that I need to look at that to place that point on the structure that it should be at. That was the one.
So
So
no-
when I started to look at that one, I recognized all this. And that is what moved me forward. Because if I did not do that, I would not be doing my job and do justice about improving so that there's a prevention of response, emergency response. Now listen, I haven't gotten to even the whole idea about emergency response. You have fire, EMS, law enforcement. Yes, you have also delivery. People want to get their packages. I understand that. I work with the post office. All changes occur. I not only send it to the local post office, I send it to the, post office out of Binghamton, who's in charge of this area for addressing. I have had that discussion before with any changes that I have done, and I've been doing this for the last several years. Any addresses that might change no matter what. When I change an address, that information, I send them a copy of the letter, and it goes to them, and they make that adjustment in what's called the red book. Anyone ever go to the post office and hear, your address isn't in the red book? That's because they haven't put it in there. It hasn't been officially established yet. It's the people who live in the structure that establish that. They don't necessarily look at my points and say, oh, I gotta put that in there, because no one's getting their mailing address. They may just want a post office box. They've gone to a post office box, they're not using a 911 address. So that's why sometimes addresses don't populate right away into the system. That's why sometimes packages aren't delivered to those people and I can't get my package. Well, did you identify with the post office? Did you make the changes with the post office?
So you're the one that did the notice? Is that who created this document? The notice about the changes? Where did that start out?
That instant. Chris, what notice are you talking about?
I'm
The
talking
official
about the one
notice?
from the village.
The original, just to be clear, the original,
The one that was sent,
Mr. Donahue sent us a letter last month.
I got this in the mail.
Yeah, but
Correct.
this is-
And that was a letter that we decided to send to everybody who might be involved in any of those streets.
Right, right.
So we just didn't put it in a newspaper or something, and
Right.
somebody may not see it. We wanted to let everybody know
Right.
what was going on and what was
Yeah.
being discussed, so that you would have the ability to come here tonight just to
Right.
hear Kelly's presentation and discuss what was happening.
My point is that I've been living at 4 Edgewater Drive for 48 years. And this thing is telling me that I'm gonna be changed to 10 Edgewater, which is ridiculous.
It doesn't
Which
say
is
it's gonna
his
be changed.
address.
It says that we're discussing it.
No,
And
that,
That's all we're
Tom,
doing is discussing it.
Tom, for the numbering wise, that would be changed.
Okay.
Because it's a
gonna be
issue
shoved down your
with
nose.
these numbers here, and I've got to correct that.
Okay, very good.
So it's 1086. 1086 are the numbers that are going to be used. 10 would be the one that's using.
You're in the wrong place there.
Come on, right
That
here.
was my original question, is the notice says Edgewater when it should have said Lakeview. So the notice was written incorrectly. So
Understand.
that's what I wanted you to read originally.
Yeah,
Three
but
edge-
In the original letter too that Kelly sent to us, it identified Edgewater,
Right.
and that's what we copied.
So there's a lot of
So
confusion here.
If we made an error in that, we're trying to clarify it today.
So
Okay.
the language would be the structure that exists identified as 3 Edgewater would need to change to 4, no, 6
You want to change it to 6.
Lakeview Ave.
And you're gonna eliminate
The
2
number
and 4.
that's at 4 would become 8, and the numbers at
Right.
6, no,
Have 4.
4 would be 10. Listen, I don't have those here, I have them here.
Right, so
Yes.
you're gonna
So
have
that-
6 Edgewater Drive, you're gonna have 6 Lakeview, and then across the road is gonna be 3 Edgewater. That empty lot is gonna be 3.
It would eventually, if
So you got
anyone
6
ever builds
and-
there, yes,
6 and 3.
it would become 3.
That's confusing.
Well, I didn't do the numbering, or it would have been 1 and 2. But I'm
Originally-
not gonna change tons of numbers to be able to get to that point. Yes,
Want to
Lonnie?
change the whole street, man.
Kelly, I understand you're trying to fix a small portion. Would that mean Lakeview would stay as Lakeview?
No, my proposal would be to change it to Woodhaven, so we don't have that sound like similar name at this point in time.
Yeah.
If we're gonna be changing, why not change the whole?
No need.
So that brings me to my next question. You mentioned communication on the call and technology. I've been in transportation
Yep.
solutions for 31 years.
Yep,
When someone calls in the EMS, do they have technology like this that pinpoints right to your address?
they have it.
Okay.
However, with tools, certain things are not perfect, right?
Well, you're
We
right.
strive to
And it
do
never will
And that's
be.
what we're doing with this whole idea of structure,
You're right.
because it would get to it. However,
How many have cell phones here?
Everybody.
Right? Everybody does. But when you dial 911, what comes up at the 911 dispatch center? Anyone know? Anyone ever visit? I invite you to visit. Your cell number, Annie, pops up in a latitude and longitude of where the phone is. Now, in several years back, AT&T needed triangulation. And if they did not have three numbers, or three towers, to pinpoint the middle of that, to see where that caller's calling from, they'd only get a variation of that. So that made it much harder for our dispatchers to pinpoint where that caller's coming from.
So my next.
Secondly,
Okay.
let me keep on the phones for a second.
Okay.
How many have VoIP phones at home? VoIP providers, voice over internet protocol. You may not know it. Anyone have Time Warner? Transitioned to Charter, didn't it? To Spectrum, whatever they want to call themselves. Up in this territory, it's Spectrum/Charter. That's a VoIP system. When VoIP first started into the dispatch center, and the calls were going to the dispatch center, we got a call from India, the country, because they started their system, their phone, here in the United States in this area, in Clinton County. But when they moved and took that phone with them on work, they didn't change the physical address for that phone. What's that?
The board.
I'm paying attention
Oh,
to that.
that's all right. So with that, that became an issue for our dispatchers. We also had a VoIP call from California. A guy was dying of a heart attack, and the wife called. They started to say where they were. We did not have the physical information of where they were. We only had the past address. They had not changed their address with the provider, the VoIP provider. You are required, when you have a VoIP system, to make sure the address is correct from where that VoIP device is located. I'm also going to give you a scenario. All of us have these cell phones. We can work off our computers in a car, and we can be traveling, someone could be working, and they want to call 911 because they see an incident. Most people keep driving when they call 911. They don't stop. I'm going to tell you, if you need 911 and you are calling, stop the vehicle, get the information of area where you're at, so that the dispatchers will understand and know where you're at. If you're on an interstate, get the mileage number, get the little green sign, has all the information the dispatcher can identify to where that individual is located. So that's important. And sometimes, I haven't tried this, and I'm going to try it, because I still think if you're on your computer and you call 911, which we've had calls, kids are doing it, and they call 911, sometimes we can't tell where they are. And I tell my dispatchers, never trust what you see, trust what you hear. That makes a difference. But sometimes when things go, and when there's excitement, and when there's certain issues, and if someone's dying of a heart attack, they want to do their best to get the help to them. So they're going to do all they can. There have been issues and errors along the way. Not just the dispatcher, but along the way, the callers.
On our street?
No,
Has there been any documented delays of 911 on our street, on Lakeview?
no. There's not been a delay, but when someone has called for, are you Mr. Canning?
I am.
So, when you called me and we spoke about it,
We did.
I went and researched that. And so when I brought that up and got the information, I found out that Rouses Point was called out. And so when they were called out, they were dispatched twice. And then when they weren't able to get the help initially from Rouses Point, they called for Champlain for assistance. That took a delay. In the process of dispatch, you had explained to me that the dispatcher had said Lake Street for Lake Street versus
They
for
originally
Lakeview
said-
Ave.
They originally said Lakeview.
Originally, they said Lakeview.
They did.
In the process, they ended up, for whatever reason, I discussed that with the dispatcher tonight, and he could not understand why Lake Street came up. all I could think of, I went back to all the radio transmissions to see if anyone said Lake Street, to maybe populate that in his mind to say that. And all I could think of, maybe he was looking at the map when he was looking at directional, saw Lake Street, Lakeview. It's an example of what I mean by sound like similar names and the potential of making those errors. So I'm trying to prevent that. And that's, when I saw that, and I appreciated you talking to me about that, that helped me to understand a little more that there could have been an error. I thank God he was able to, when the 307 responded, which is your EMS unit, when they responded, they acknowledged for Lakeview Ave. So they did get there, but it was many minutes before they got there. So
But they did get there.
they did get there.
So my point
and there was
is-
not a delay from that.
There was no, we've had no issues on the street whatsoever. I mean, so are we all gonna walk around with helmets on in case we fall?
Well,
What's the
I
point
get
of
what you're
changing
saying. I get what you're saying. Look at, you guys hire me, for Clinton County hired me to do a job, to make sure I can do all I can to make sure that I do it correctly and do it right, and do it for the safety of the people. That's what I've done. That's what I've been doing for 24 and a half years. Not perfectly. Listen, I make mistakes. I know that's hard to believe, but I make mistakes too. We all make mistakes. If anyone doesn't, I want to know your secret. The reality is what we're striving to do is right a wrong that I believe was established way back when that should have not even been allowed. If anything, we wouldn't be discussing this if Woodhaven Drive wasn't there. If it was Lakeview Ave, the only individuals that would be affected are the numbers that I spoke about earlier.
Which is still me.
Well, yes.
Kelly, I think you bring up some good points, but I think communication and possibly some training with the EMS when they are taking a call, given the amount of street names, not only are they handling, Rouses Point, Champlain, Plattsburgh, I mean, verify that address. And when they're on and they can see on a map, they can see exactly where they're going, they can see the color of the house. Am I mistaken
They
if
can't, so, you see a picture up there. That picture is not live. So, guaranteed, someone's changed the color of their house from when that picture. So they only see,
No way.
But my
I'm
point-
making a point that some
Yeah.
people have. And the reality is, what you see, you have houses that burn down. And all of a sudden they say, well, it's next to 4. Well, there's no 4 because it was burned down. So, there are those issues out there. And it's not so much in a city as it is, or a village, as it is in the rural areas, where that really becomes an issue when they're trying to find something. Listen, where there's smoke, there's fire. We don't worry about that, because we pretty much can get there. It's the EMS calls that I worry about, and we worry about, and you should be worrying about, to make sure you get the help. There are some other issues that were brought up with regard to deeds. The deeds technically do not need the physical 911 address. That does not make, legally, and Tom, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it does not need to be on the deed. They utilize it to help identify it. But down the road, it does become an issue when people end up splitting their property off, create a private right-of-way. Now all of a sudden they have a new roadway, they have a new address, and it's a different parcel number. I tell the banks, initially you can use that tax map ID number, but that may not be the same. Because real property may go along, transition a map because of the changes, because there's more development being done, and all of a sudden they create a new map out of that particular area, that land. So the tax map ID is wrong. So it's going to be wrong. Having a letter to identify the address change is key when address changes are made. That's why when I started to issue letters, 911 letters. Wasn't being done before I got there. Now what I'm doing is I'm actually issuing it through the email. Because now you have the ability to print and save, keep it with your records. I also have all that information that if you lose it, which I've had people lose it, they call me, I send a new letter out. With the technology, I can make copies of that letter. Yes, sir.
But when it comes to file, in the deed with Clinton County, that's free?
Oh, it's not free,
Okay.
but you don't do that till you normally sell your home.
Or
Right.
something happens.
Or you change ownership. When you change ownership, does it change?
What about a will and testament? My wife and I, we have an 11-year-old daughter, we're driving to Plattsburgh, and God bless, something happens to both of us, and 911 changed our address.
It's initially identified on the deed, but you have the letter to back that up.
Absolutely, we're gonna have a letter, but was it free?
No. But
Oh, thank you.
in order for her to maintain that ownership, will she not have to identify herself to be the owner on that deed? Yes. So then, she would have to get a lawyer to make that happen. And that's when you do
When the
it.
estate,
Even with this letter,
your
it's-
daughter or whomever.
It's sitting over our heads though, just waiting. At some point, it's gonna have to be changed. So you put it off or you don't, it's just one more thing to worry about.
Well, listen, the thing is, you don't have to do it. It does not have to be on the deed. 911 address does not have to be on the deed. Because you have all these parcels that have changed and transformed over the years. I have real property maps that the assessor sometimes don't connect the dots and don't realize that they had a split on that parcel and the 911 number is on the wrong parcel. And someone says, well, no, that's my address. So they use it as an address, and then I gotta go back and tell them, oh, by the way, that's the wrong address. Who gave you that number? Well, it was on my deed. I was told that that was the 911 address. Yes, but it was a different parcel. So it split off and they put the wrong number on that parcel.
Another point that I'd like to bring up is, you know, our mail lady has been with us for years and years and years, and I'm sure everybody would agree. They know who we are, they know our address, and by changing it, there's legal documents that might get in somebody else's hand. I'm not worried about EMS. I mean, I'm not worried about EMS, I'm not worried about someone coming to my house in an ambulance. They know who I am, they know where I live. With today's technology, they type it in, the dispatch's gonna be on the phone with them until they reach my house. The address change I am concerned with. Now, if you have legal documents, you have social security information, those documents.
But you have to
With the post
inform,
office, their technology is years behind.
correct.
Within the supply chain or FedEx or UPS.
Correct.
For somebody that's delivering that package.
That's why it's also incumbent upon you that you know changes are occurring. Listen, when I had to move, I had to change all my documents.
But we're
I'm
not
sorry,
moving.
it's reality.
That's
That was your
okay.
choice.
You're not moving. However, with the post office, I already told you, there is that agreement and arrangement made that you're not moving. They tell me all the time, tell the people not to put it in address change, because that's more confusing for them. I send the letter to the postmaster and I send it to that other individual, and that is done officially by them. The village should be taking care of all the changes that are necessary for electric, for sewer, for water. Any other changes like DMV, I spoke with DMV, Deanna Rock, she said, look, send me an email, put it in the letter to send it to me, and/or the web page, and she will make the change in the system for the registration, whatever is connected with you. All she needs is your license so that she can look at anything connected to your license. That will automatically be changed address-wise. Now, DMV, most of you may not remember in school, when we were growing up, we had 10 days to change our address. So ultimately, when changes and transformation occur, make sure you change that with DMV. But you can do that through the email address that I give you, and if you don't have email, you can call Deanna. I will give you the number in that letter as well. Look, I think some of the other changes I know that concerns, yes. Are you gonna incur costs if you have to do new checks? You don't have to do new checks. I used to be a banker. You can cross off the address that's on there and you make the change. With the DMV, by the way, with that license, once you notify DMV, you have to get a sticker, put it on the back of the license, and have that address placed on the back of the license. And that way, it's identified for that license, so if you get stopped, it's identified so the trooper doesn't get surprised that you're at a different address. So, yes. Lonnie, I'm glad you're here, man.
Yeah, well,
Make me cry.
you mentioned leaving some of Lakeview Avenue. Why would we leave a portion of Lakeview Avenue.
I'm not leaving any portion.
You're
It goes
proposing.
back
Oh,
to
okay.
this.
So that
Goes
was-
back to the proposal.
Okay, okay.
If Lakeview Ave changes,
No.
all the addressing would change
So-
to Woodhaven Drive.
Would
I couldn't tell
something
that from that
signage,
letter.
leaving the name and changing 4 numbers be a little easier and have less impact on 17 individuals?
Absolutely.
That would still fix 911. The issues that you're concerned about, it would still fix.
If you wanna fix that
Lakeview
corner,
Avenue.
if you wanna fix that corner so it's a specific stop, so I will tell you, and I do like what you did here, so I can borrow that for a second.
You can.
I hate to tell you, who's at 20?
They're not here.
They're not here. Because technically, they are on Woodhaven Drive,
Mhm.
so they would actually have to change as well. And I only noticed that afterwards.
Why do we have to change all of Lakeview when the numbers go?
You don't. He's proposing.
So- If you turned around and got rid of a curve, and you made it so that it's straight, wouldn't that help the first responders know? But here's the problem, you all are sequentially the same. From 1 to 46, I think is the last one, that's all the same.
But if there was signage,
But listen, if you have proper signage, you kind of make it straight, if that's what you want to do, Mr. Mayor, look it. I'm trying to do the best I can, but don't come back to me if something were to occur otherwise.
I've got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
So let's say if we did that and made it straight, then Woodhaven would have to renumber now, wouldn't they?
no, he's saying they're also. The
Listen,
diagram she did.
listen, if you don't want to renumber it, I'm doing the best I can. Down the road,
Absolutely.
I will tell you, it'd be a moot point down the road if a law was created, because there are a lot of issues and problems. You already noted it with Pine and Pineview. There are a lot of issues worse than this in the county that should be corrected. Listen, I went
Leave
through
us
hell.
alone.
Right?
Did I tell you, I had a full head of hair and I was skinny when you and I first met, way back when.
But how many are being corrected? Like you said,
I try as I see them.
And who does?
Are these all being
Do you have an
corrected?
example of a
Yes,
community
Route
that's...
9B, or excuse me, Route 9. I changed those numbers from 1 to whatever, 1,000 it was, over 1,000. They all had to change their addresses to 10,000. Because there were issues, and there I had issues. So, there are some people that just don't want to do it. You can lead a horse to the water, you
Yeah.
can't make them drink.
After-
So the reality is, if they don't change and make it identified, it's gonna be a problem.
Yeah.
But I did that because it's 10,000. For whatever reason, my predecessor did not want to go into the 5-digit mark versus the 4. They should have done it way back when, and we wouldn't be discussing any of that there. That's an example. I've had to change other names of the roads from their suffixes. So suffix, being a lane or a way or whatever. When an official right-of-way is no longer a right-of-way that the town, village, city take it over, that suffix should change to a proper identifier for lack of confusion for what's out there with a lot of right-of-ways that have been taken over by the village, town, and city. Now all of a sudden someone says, well, you should be plowing my road. If it's a way, technically, when I learned about the system, ways were private. Did not have any responsibility. When I asked the village, when I asked the town, when I asked them to accept roads, I asked them to identify the suffix. The suffix will help people to understand. But unfortunately, I'm dealing with issues and problems where people are standing on the ground saying, nope, I'm not gonna do it. What do I do? So, there are problems, there are issues.
It's a
And-
natural thing, you agree. Like, this is a community that has been, a development that's been there for a very long time.
I've been there 48 years,
I understand.
never seen a problem.
What I'm saying to you is, I think.
I understand.
I'm back at step 1, that this was a proposal. I come in tonight, and it's a done deal.
No, it's not a done deal.
For the
That's
numbers.
what you just said.
For the numbers. it's-
For the numbers it is. For the numbers it is.
I'm concerned about the Lakeview, and the Lake and Lakeview, I don't understand why that's a big deal.
Lake Street and Lakeview
I
Avenue.
don't,
So-
I don't see
They don't
where-
sound
Somebody-
As good as the 911 as good as the 911 system is, the pagers have weekend. So I'm in here. Now, I might be able to get a page in here, I may not. LEDs have been known to mess these pagers up. Any of your pager ever mess up? And you may hear something, you may get half the word. So it could be late, but they don't get
Yeah.
everything. So they may be responding, and if they're in their own vehicles, now it's kind of changed. Most departments have to go to the fire station in order to respond, most members. So they can get a truck on the road or whatever. But in the old days, some of them carry their gear with them, and they go to a different street, and that's happened. I do have communities that have duplicate names by suffix in the same town region. But because the postal district changed, it was allowed.
When someone's dispatched, they not only get a page, but they get a text as well.
Sometimes. If the fire department has bought into that system of I am responding.
Have we?
It's offered.
We have.
I believe Rouses Point has, yes.
Okay, so that's not an issue.
Our grandson's a fireman, and now don't they have to read back the address to the dispatcher?
Firefighters should. That is asked for them to
Shouldn't
clarify.
the EMTs too?
I'm sorry?
Shouldn't the EMTs too then?
The MS should be doing that as well, yes.
So if
It's
an
not just
ambulance-
EMTs. The driver's not necessarily an
Okay,
EMT.
I
So I'm just
understand
clarifying.
that. So now it's kind of like a double check.
It should be, and that's called ICS, the Incident Command System, which established proper communications, right? But sometimes we have that breakdown in the system, and it doesn't always
Nobody's
happen.
perfect, but I mean.
No, I get it.
And I think there's kind of an opportunity here, it's like some of the different, what was it, Pine Street and,
Pine View.
one thing, this is an opportunity in a way, because we've got the honor flags going up. We could rename one of those pines to honor a veteran, honor a village founder, or something like that. So we could make that, we could have a good amount of fun with that, finding people to name a street off after the.
As long as there's no duplication, yes.
As long as there's no duplication, and we fix it so that there is less possibility of an error. So we make it so it's less likely that it's an error, and we honor a community member from the past at the same time. We could put a Medal of Honor name in there or something like that. It's an opportunity, I wanted to point that out.
Kelly, any proposals? I mean, obviously you have a community here and they want to keep Lakeview Avenue.
I get it.
We want to keep Lakeview Avenue.
We absolutely.
Any proposals as far as signage? Let us help the village, let us help the EMS, let us help the emergency responders. We can keep our street since 1965. We can put some signage versus going through everything and all these changes and upsetting everyone. What do you propose for signage? Is there something
The
we
proper
can put
road
on our
signs that are
house?
established by federal guidelines.
There you go.
Okay, and what are those?
Your highway,
Here.
Okay,
Right on
okay, so that's something that we
We
can
can
work
put
in
up.
conjunction with the
You
village.
can put those
and
up.
Yeah.
Additional signage on our homes would help.
sure,
Okay.
anything.
Okay.
If you put the right number on your home structure, when you change your siding, change your door that had the number at one time.
Right.
Put it on, make sure it's there. Don't depend on the postal box.
Yeah.
Because the postal boxes, do they get knocked down? I had mine knocked down during the storm. But on the post, I have 2 reflective numbers that identify my address. Because I want to make sure the first responders can see. Now, I'll stand here right now, because if any of you go to my house and see it, when I did my changes, as I told you to put it on the door, above the signage, wherever, it's not on my structure. Shame on me, because here I am preaching it, and I haven't done it yet. But I will get to it. It's just every time I think of it, it becomes winter, and it's like, damn it, I can't put something when it's cold, right? Because it doesn't work.
Put it on
Yes,
Facebook tomorrow.
yeah.
How long,
Yes, sir, put it right out there, I don't care.
how long before I know that my house at 3 Edgewater will go to 6 Lakeview? How long will I know when it's gonna happen or if it's not gonna happen?
So,
It's been there 57 years.
I get what you're saying. I
I
understand
mean, I
what you're
just bought
saying.
it. I'm just saying, it's been there 57 years, why would you change it now?
Because it was identified and recognized.
You got Edgewater and Lakeview. You got 2 different names of roads there.
just because you took one away, that
Yeah.
should have stayed on one, and put it down on that apartment, it screwed everything up. That's what's
No.
happened.
The one has to go to where it should be. And first of
How
all,
come
pre-numbered subdivisions, I've done away with pre-numbered subdivisions, by the way, because I wouldn't be in this boat. Listen, I had to tell my wife's boss, who she had just gotten a new position, and it was her boss. I had to tell him after 5 years that he, living in a house, had to change his address because a pre-numbered subdivision was done, and the proper numbers
Right.
to give it room was not there. So I had to change his number and had to come up with 2 other numbers.
Right.
So, listen, I have to do what I have to do to make sure it's right and identified.
My mother-in-law.
Now, am I concerned about the same numbering for sequential all around? Yes. But you know what? If that's the proposal, I can't argue anymore to say why I think it should be.
Trustee Rodriguez has a
Wish
question.
Donna
You
was
said
here.
to the mayor to rewind
It's
what
not
you
a
said.
proposal.
He said if you
No, it
don't
isn't.
wanna
This is
change
all
numbers,
jammed down your
Mr. Mayor,
throat.
You don't
Yeah.
have to, so is that?
Not the numbers,
Swallow.
Oh, you said the numbers.
Have a nice
I
day.
wanna make sure.
Swallow.
You're really messing
names.
with people's minds here, that you
think
go
it's
off
time
on
to
these
go.
long tangents and stuff, I think we just
Yeah.
gotta,
Well, sometimes I do go on
Yeah.
tangents, but I do come back,
yeah.
and I do clarify.
Get to the,
Listen, I don't often talk to this in the public, right?
yeah.
I talk in a different level, different way, different services and all that stuff.
Not to us.
When I go to this is, you know, I don't often do this, so folks, you know,
Kelly, I
Don't
just
beat
want
me
to say
up.
thank you for
I'm
coming
human.
and clarifying and allowing us to voice our opinions. And it's a proposal, and our voices are being heard, so thank you.
yeah,
Can
Ed,
I get the sign sheets?
what's that?
Can I get the sign sheets?
Yeah, those are yours. Did everyone sign in?
No, because.
Okay, make sure you all sign in.
Kelly, did you get
I
the,
don't think they signed in, Tom.
has the trustees, have they seen, and the mayor, have they seen the petition yet themselves?
I think it was just delivered tonight, so we haven't seen it yet.
I don't, we brought it in.
Yeah, we haven't seen it.
No,
Oh, he
right.
has it. I just don't have to see it.
Yeah,
Mr. Donahue.
there's 2
So,
sheets, one for
from the outcome of this
this
meeting,
hearing thing and
we're not going to
one
change
for the
this.
regular.
I
We're just gonna
think,
change,
I think discussion can be done afterwards. So, when we leave here, I'm not saying it's not gonna be, you guys have given me some good arguments. And if you do the proper signage, I may not be more likely, or I may be less likely to push the road name change, but I've experienced where things become lax in a community, and all of a sudden the sign gets knocked down, it doesn't get replaced. Now all of a sudden you're back to no definitive location where the road ends and where it begins. That's an issue when I see a curve, because it melts together.
well,
And it's
that's
confusing.
gonna be a village issue then. So
Absolutely.
you brought it to the village board, and the village board.
But it's an emergency response issue
Right.
too, because you have law enforcement people that come into our area that aren't necessarily
Bullshit.
local. And if you want, if there's an active shooter in your neighborhood, do you want them to know where you are? I
We'll take
would.
care of it.
Yeah, but
EMS as well as fire.
I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about, you said we need better signage. So the village will put better signage up there. And we will maintain that. If it gets knocked down by a plow truck or whatever, they're gonna know, because they're the ones that are gonna put the sign up.
Yeah.
So the purpose of tonight was really to have this public discussion with everybody, so everybody understands what's come up as a proposal.
We're getting shoved up our.
Certainly, we can study things, we just got the
Petition.
yeah, the petitions from these folks tonight. Nobody's reviewed it yet or seen it. I know Kelly mentioned he reviewed some aspects of it, but nobody else has really seen any of it. So we're not sitting here tonight where we have to make any kind of decision.
No, I understand that, but I was just responding to what he said, that communities let the signage go down. Well, that's what I'm here to tell him, is that if the village puts these signs up, it will not be, taken down or whatever else. If it is taken down, it will be taken care of from the village.
I'd like a clarification from Mr. Donahue, because he said that if this didn't pass, he would pursue it in the future.
For
the street change.
numbers?
No, for the street.
No. For the future, the proposal for where I need to move forward with an official law for identifying roads. And if, because of 911, because of the technology, the way it's transforming and changing, it's become issues. For first responders, it's become issues. You may not think so because you got a lot of people that have been in the community, grew up in the community. But you have other agencies that are slowly, we're losing our firefighters, we're losing EMS. And so you get other people from different areas coming in to assist. During the ice storm, anyone remember the wonderful ice storm? You guys weren't out of power a long time, were you?
No.
That's a blessing about your community. The city of Plattsburgh wasn't out of power either. I will tell you though, talking with, on the emergency management side and talking with someone from the utilities who's in charge of the utilities for NISAC, he said, that was an adjustment that was made at the time. Don't depend on that. Because ultimately, power could be drawn back to other areas or regions. You may lose power for the blessings that you have, the power you have. So when I heard that, I said, holy jump. I live in the city, but I've lost power several times. I'm looking at a generator because hearing that from him, our infrastructure for the United States is weak, and electrical-wise. And other infrastructure is weak as well, but electrical is bad. So the future is there. We need to prepare for ourselves as well. So all in all,
So to answer my question, what would you do to pursue this?
so
in the
if
future?
this agreement is here, look, and I'm not going back to all these issues and problems that I've dealt with. If we have a determination here, it is a determination. If and when there are issues or problems that exist because of it and delays, then maybe we have to make another change or adjustment, right? So I'm not saying it's definitive. I did ask coming here that I wanted it to be definitive because that's my due diligence, that's my job. But listen, I listen too. I hear the concerns. But there are times that I can't say yes. And so those are the times, like Route 9, for example. I couldn't say no. I had to go forward and say, I have to do it. Route 22, I need to do it for the betterment of the numerical wise. There, it starts all over. It should be consistent. So, because you have a street, and because it's been like that, I understand it. It's sequential. Do I like it? Absolutely not. Do I think I'm doing due diligence by maybe saying, okay, take Lakeview and keep it there and Woodside here? Go ahead. But I have a concern with it. But I may say yes with great hesitation. But look it, we work together, and that's what it's about. And it's going to be up to you anyways. Where is your emergency? That's the key. And having the ability to talk. But if you're having a heart attack, you're asthmatic and you're alone, or you have someone upstairs and they didn't know you called 911. And we've had this in the community right here in Rouses Point. They didn't know that their brother was having a heart attack downstairs. And all of a sudden the EMS went into the house. You may have even been on that call, Bernie or Brian. The guy said, what are you doing in my house? Well, we had a 911 call from here that someone collapsed. And unfortunately, they didn't make it. But it wasn't because of the response. But the individual in the house didn't even know they called 911. So I don't need any potential hesitations. So I've given a lot of education. I hope you educate people on the whole idea about VoIP, telephone, wireless. Don't call 911 if you're not going to be stationary, to let them know the detail they need to know to get the help to you. All right? I appreciate your time, yeah.
Yes, sir. Charles Carswell, I live 10 Edgewater Drive. According to what you said, mine's not going to change now, but I'm here representing everybody in my area. I was on that call with Mr. Gaines when he had passed away. You can't use that one as an excuse because we went right there, we were there.
No, I didn't. They weren't there.
Right,
I'm using that as an example sometimes elsewhere.
I'm saying when I joined the fire department, and I think you can concur, they don't let us go in there and drive away with a pumper on day one. We go through training. Rouses Point, in my opinion, has got the best damn fire department in the county. Always have been. They got the best trucks. We came here with a petition. Out of the 29 houses, I was able to speak with 23 people, but 23 houses. Got almost 40 signatures. We're speaking, we don't want Lakeview to be changed. We can't do much about the numbers, but we're telling you, we don't want Lakeview to be changed.
I hear what you're saying. I heard that, loud and clear. I did hear that. So, I thank you for allowing me to take the time to be here and to kind of explain, give history, because I think it's important to understand and know why systems evolve and develop as well. So, things change, things transform. We live in a dynamic world, and it just happens. We have to understand and know change occurs.
So, excuse me, the name change on that street would be up to these gentlemen here.
If they do a resolution at this point in time, and they abide by that, and I'm gonna abide by what you decide, I've given you an argument. Now, I will tell you, even if I'm part of the county, don't come to me or put my name down on a lawsuit if someone couldn't get help because of confusion for location, all right? Because that's my concern. And so, I'm telling you right here, Mr. Renee, I'm going on record to state, I would disagree, but I'm gonna have to agree to disagree, right? If you guys decide, I'm not gonna move forward on that, and guess what? As long as I'm here for 6 more years, God willing, I won't change that. It won't be me. Let someone else do it, all right? I'm gonna go on record. If you do what you've asked or identified that I've suggested, create it so it's not so much a curve, create it so that it's, straight, and put the signage up.
Yeah, because we don't have to make a decision today, we don't intend to. But in the future, I want to leave it open in the future in case people change their minds and want to, but we're not going to make a decision to do it today.
And why not?
Right now, you guys don't want to change the street name.
We don't want to change the street name, you're right.
Yeah. So we're not going to make a decision to change it.
Okay, I thought you meant we weren't gonna make a decision on the proposal.
No.
That was
Today,
the way
we're
we
just
did it.
not deciding to change the street.
So the bottom. To answer your question, I don't think we're making a decision this evening, period, because we want to review the petition, we want to take in what.
Oh, so no decisions being made today?
Right.
Yeah.
Officially.
Right, I think that's, listen, I'm not the board obviously makes the decision, but that would be my recommendation. Because we're just hearing a lot of information tonight, we're hearing your questions and your concerns, so I think we need to digest all that. Thank you.
So what's the timeline? Will we have a timeline on when you will make a decision, one way or the other?
Good question.
Is that gonna be published somewhere?
I think-
what's the next step?
Once you guys, if you all collectively decide to change it and come to us and say we want to change it, that might be the day, but I don't see that happening.
Well, I don't know if we have a time, well, I mean, obviously the board can speak, but
I think we need to move forward with the signage and make sure your houses are numbered properly, and we'll go from there. If there's an issue, then we address it.
Thank you.
So I think the
Mr. Canning
signage,
keep
the
his
signage
house
would
numbered?
take a lot of confusion.
No, cannot.
You cannot.
No, Kelly's changing.
Okay.
Yeah, the house numbers are changing, that's not, right.
2 and 4 are
Those
no
two
longer
house
gonna
numbers.
exist.
After all that, I'm still confused.
2 and 4 are dead.
And I don't even live there.
That's why I was asking them to read the notice.
Pat, you're the last one to have 4
thank you, Phil.
Lakeview.
That's it, bud.
You're going down in history, right here in the village.
There's a lot of names on here that, of people that want to speak, so I'm just gonna go down the list and see if anyone still wants to speak about something. I can't read all of these. Pat?
I've been speaking quite a bit.
Okay, so you're
done.
good. Charles?
I got to speak, thank you.
M. Forse? Farse?
Favreau?
Favreau.
I'm on State Street, I'm fine. I just wanted him to clarify that the notice, I didn't have a horse in the race, but the notice and communication was wrong, which caused the confusion for Edgewater with a lot of people that came for Edgewater.
I'd like to apologize.
And I'm here for the village board meeting.
Tina?
I spoke with everybody.
Lonnie spoke.
You did?
It starts with a B.
Brian,
Brian?
yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good as I'm gonna be.
Looks like a John?
That might have been the gentleman that,
We do have some people in the hall.
yeah, I don't think he left.
That was Bill.
That was Bill that left.
Bill Richardson was in here.
JB.
No, it's probably me. I'm all set. I listened to everything.
Oh, okay.
We're good.
I should have specified, please print, but, Linda? You're good? Jerry?
I'm good.
You're good?
Everybody else covered it all.
God has spoken.
Bonne? Donnie?
Probably left.
Stephen Moore?
He's in the hall.
He's in the hall.
He left? Okay. And I know who that last one is. He's left. Thank God, because I could not read that. Okay, do you have anything else?
No.
So you got my cell phone. Can you text me a time that's good for you? So we can do like what I did with the Red Cross, and we can talk about the effects and changes and everything. And I believe that is the end of this portion of the hearing.
Thank you,
Everybody?
everybody.
Thank you all.
I knew coming into it, I was fighting for everybody else.
Thanks for beating me up too.
Thank you.
We're losing battle. Nothing like a little whipping once in a while.
How do you want me to explain all that to you? Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Everybody from Edgewater.
After all that.
And there's only 6 people. Give it the. So my whole
I think we have to keep those in file. I believe we gotta keep those. Just gonna shut the door too.
That's why I'm on State Street. Understood the problem before.
Good to see you. Okay.
I apologize in front of you. Oh, that's all right.
No problem.
911. And your new number is going to be.
You want to keep this as well?
Sure.
Whatever they are, right? Say your house is changed,
I got a copy.
new address is going to be X.
But his letter
Okay.
were both correctly.
Going into regular session.
You're right.
Open meeting to the public. Open meeting to the public.
Do you have a list there?
Yep, I do. Has everybody signed the list for the regular meeting that wants to?
No, I need to sign it.
Okay. Actually, if you don't mind, while you're all signing it, I'd like to get out of public session, get the business taken care of, then we'll go back into public session at the end. Is that okay with everybody? I see you nodding.
Sure.
Okay. Minutes of the previous meeting.
Make a motion to accept the minutes as printed.
I have a correction. I left early, and I wasn't here to second the adjournment at 10:15. So who seconded?
I did.
You did? Oh, was it? Okay. Okay. I'll correct that.
See you later. Thanks.
Have a safe drive.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Make a note for, my second
Second the motion.
motion as to correct, after the corrected.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bills. Any modifications, changes to the bills, any questions?
No additions or deletions.
I make a motion, we pay the bills as printed.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Correspondence. Power Authority shedding load.
Do you want me to explain that, Chad?
Yes, that would be great.
Okay, so, recently what happened is, New York State Electric and Gas reached out to, Jason Juneau, our chief electrician, and what New York State Electric Power Authority, indicated to Jason is that there may come a time that the village may have to shed load. So what recently happened was in Chattagay, a transformer actually blew. And in order to replace that transformer, they were requesting municipalities to shed loads to support them doing that work. We got called, the village of Rouses Point got called to possibly be one of the participants in shedding load. But it goes in order and we're the last one on the line because of where we're at, so we did not have to shed any load. But it may come a point in time where the village may have to shed load. So we're gonna have to turn off some of the power. Based upon Jason's recommendation, if the New York State Power Authority does request the village of Rouses Point to do shedding of load, he's requesting that we shed load at 64 Maple.
That's the ERS truck, yeah.
So it could be shed for 1 minute, or it could be an hour or hours. It all depends how long it takes for New York Power Authority to get their end fixed. And it's going to just prevent the rest of the residences from having loss of power. That's a recommendation of Jason. I provided the board with copies. It was actually quite lengthy document that Jason sent over to me. And what I did is I just printed out the highlights as far as what would cause the need to do a shedding of a load and the requirements that are set upon the municipality for the board review.
And since that place would be drawing the heaviest load.
That's right. That's
We're
why
not gonna
Jason
say
made
that
that
anywhere else.
recommendation.
Do we have to make that in the form of a motion? So if this does happen, that it's on record that we will shut 64 Maple off?
That is 100% correct, so it would be needed into a form of a motion.
I'll put that in the form of a motion.
I'll second that.
Jed seconded it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Does it need to be roll call? Or
Just
just
asked all in favor, everybody said yes, so.
Yeah, everyone said yes anyway, so.
I know back in the early 80s and later 80s and stuff like that, we did that for the power authority, shed loads back then.
Okay. Moving forward, Jed, since we brought that up, as far as when it comes time for roll call, could you allow the clerk to do the roll call? So I can call it out for everybody to vote, is that okay?
With you being right at the microphone for the streaming, that'll actually work better anyway.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want me to just explain the Flag for Heroes? That's next on the correspondence.
Sure, because I don't appear to have it.
Yeah, no, it was just a verbal phone call from Shar Sample. Shar wanted to give me a call and let me know, and I wanted to let the residents know as well, is that it was a great success. They were able to do 74 flags, and they only had to turn down one individual. And the only reason they turned the individual down is because he was not a Rouses Point native. He was from Katyville, so she advised him that he would be able to get a flag for heroes in his hometown of Katyville. So she wanted to thank all the residents and all of our local heroes for coming out and doing such a great job supporting us. Thank you, Shar, for all your hard work, too.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very
So
good
we're gonna start
recognition.
seeing those signs up soon?
Well, in the spring. So what they did is, because whoever wanted them has to pay for the flags, so they have that process, now they're ordering them, and in the spring, we'll be putting them up on our poles out here. It's gonna make the village look very nice.
Fantastic.
And,
Usually they'll fly from Memorial Day till Veterans Day.
That's correct. And we wanna get them down for the bad weather, for the snow and everything.
Fantastic.
Okay. So is that everything for the hero flags?
Yeah, and I thought you'd wanna do the next one.
Okay, we can both take part because we're both at that meeting.
Sure.
The town of Champlain and the village of Champlain and
want to do a marketing campaign that involves the town, village, and, well, town of Champlain, village of Champlain, and village of Rouses Point. We had a meeting, Chris was there with me, we discussed it. It's still in the early planning. There was some questions about budgeting, but I told them I wasn't willing to back a blank check, so they need to get their budget in order for all this. It'd be a joint marketing campaign to market the tourism, the business opportunities, recreation here, and other stuff as well.
Residential growth.
Residential growth, but possibly residential growth. Would you like to take a little bit from here, just say what you saw from your perspective?
Yes, so it's going to be the three communities joining together, as Jed said, it's to support growth. In our discussion that we had, what we want to do is they want to do a video clip of all three communities, and based upon the amount of time that this video clip is going to be in each community will be the amount that each community is going to participate as far as for the overall cost for the promotion of it. What we're hoping we're going to happen is what we'd like to do, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jed, but we had a long conversation. We'd like to really promote the residential growth because we feel that if we're able to build residentially, then what that's going to do is that's going to help prevent commercial growth, business growth, because you need the numbers. You need to support business growth with numbers. And we want to support tourism. What we want to do is probably get together with, like some of the fishing derbies that they have locally, whether it be ice fishing or some of the big bass fishing tournaments that they have. Get in touch with some of our local communities for the snowmobile clubs, promote some of the snowmobile traffic. I mean, all that is going to draw business and revenue into each one of our communities. And let's face it, I mean, the town of Champlain, the village of Champlain and Rouses Point, we're all chartered as one, essentially, right? So I think we all need to work together, and everybody's success will be for the best.
And they wanted to do some stuff with a joint web page and interconnecting our already existing web pages.
I think it sounds really promising. But like Jed said, we're not going to do a blank check.
Did they have any, did they give you any kind of figures at all? I mean,
No,
it's budget time right now, so that would be.
It's very preliminary. They didn't give us any real figures.
The number they gave us was way too low.
Yeah.
I don't think it was in the ballpark.
I can speak on behalf of the town. I'm actually head of the marketing aspect here.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have our meeting tomorrow, and we're going to be rolling out that. We're looking at a, I don't know if I call it a princely sum, but probably a joint effort, town, both villages, somewhere into the tune of maybe $25,000 or so as an effort. This is over a period of time. This is not going to be all out of the gate, but over a period of time, to try to increase our notoriety, our visibility, and that takes money. You need to have functioning websites, you need to have social media accounts, you need people that are on top of those things. We're looking to do a promotional public service announcement, a commercial, if you will, to try to promote what we have going on here. And again, to do quality, it does take some money, yes. And I think we're also considering the possibility of the population breakdown of town percentage versus village, the two village percentages in terms of a population.
And that would be 25,000 split, not 25,000 for each one.
Correct. Correct. And that's just a ballpark figure kind of running out. We have a budget, we're working on, of course, grants can try to backfill some of this as well. We can try to do a lot of things that, if we don't promote ourselves, we can't expect anybody else to know who we are, what we stand for, what we have to offer here. So it's a matter of kind of campaigning our great community to the rest of, the rest of Clinton County, maybe the rest of New York and far beyond.
That sounds like a pretty reasonable budget too, because like I'm doing an advertising campaign for my company, it's costing me about $14,000. So for $25,000 for a much bigger project, that seems pretty reasonable.
Mm-hmm. And then sustaining a website and the programs that go along with visual, being known and seen out in the, that's there's gonna be a cost, a sustaining cost that's gonna have to be budgeted every year in order to be able to maintain, what would be, adequate.
And what do you want to say, Dale?
I was just gonna say, once you have your meeting tomorrow, within the next few weeks, like I said, it is budget time.
Sure.
I mean, get us that figure as soon as you can, so we can see if we can work it in our budget.
Yeah, sure.
Because if not, then we're gonna
Our
be
sense
struggling
lighting
to
over
try to
here.
find
Yeah.
something.
There's a lot of competing things in the budget.
Lighten up a little bit on something.
It's gonna be okay. It'll be okay.
At least he hasn't turned completely pale and collapsed yet. Is that, do you have anything else, or is that all for the combined marketing campaign?
If you have any questions, or, I guess I can be a contact person, at the town, so feel free to contact me at any point, development.
I mean, one of the things we were discussing at the meeting, we have the Civic Center. I mean, we'd like to do a lot of promotion of the Civic Center to draw some events. I mean, we have a beautiful facility here, so, I mean, it's not utilized in the summer. So let's try to utilize it and bring some tourists and attraction here to this village.
Yeah, and for the people that are gonna be watching this meeting, a think tank, kind of coming up with a good list of things to promote, getting a lot of different ideas from a lot of different people in order to create, the commercial, the public service announcement in my head, is every single season, we're showcasing things that happen all year round around here, whether it's in our facilities, the hardworking people that make it happen, our athletic school, the new athletic facilities, the school, our recreation, our tourism, the lake. There's a lot of different things that we're going to try to wet people's whistles, so to speak, on what we got going on here.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Jason. Okay. I'll just do it on the list here.
We got one more correspondence. Fire department.
Fire department.
Oh, yeah, that's not on the docket necessarily, so I skipped it. So we've got a new member who has been approved to the company for probationary period of 6 months. They'd like us to approve him on the board. Gordon Snide, 3 Casino Lane. Motion to,
I make a motion to approve Gordon Snide to the.
Second.
we got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We keep my job good. Oh, that wasn't a roll call though.
Yeah, it was.
No, was it?
It's all right.
I never handled those as a roll call. Oops.
That's it.
Okay, someone dropped off a copy of Plattsburgh's cryptocurrency law in my mailbox. They've got a few differences between they've got a lot of differences actually.
That concludes the portion that was recorded by the Rouses Point Village camera, the official camera. It only recorded an hour and a half roughly due to a dead battery. So the remainder, almost an hour or so of the meeting, will be from the Facebook Live coverage from the mayor's computer. So this is Facebook Live coverage, and the official Rouses Point Village coverage unfortunately ceased after an hour and a half.
There's got a few differences between our, a lot of differences actually. So their definition of cryptocurrency is pretty much the same as ours. Their definition of cryptocurrency mining is not one that we have. Their definition of server farm is also like ours, defined here as 3 or more independent computers housed in a facility whose primary function is to perform cryptocurrency mining or associated data processing. They've got what I think is a much better high-density load service definition. Theirs is defined here as provision of electrical service where the requested load density has, for any monthly billing period, either an average power demand in excess of 300 kilowatts or an average power density in excess of 250 kilowatt hours per year per square foot, equivalent to 35.064 square feet per kilowatt at 100% load factor. Square footage is defined as lease or owned boundaries of floor space devoted to the operating data processing equipment and excludes space for offices, storage, shipping, receiving, or any other space in an electronic process. Our definition is far broader than that. I think it isn't as specific. And they've got a section on fire safety. They've got a section on heat, nuisance abatement. One thing I don't suggest that we adopt is they actually have a special use permit to allow Bitcoin mining. Special use permit pursuant to section 270 of City Code is required for any new commercial cryptocurrency mining operation or any expansion of any pre-existing commercial crypto mining operation or ensure conformance with this section. So they don't have anything about data mining, and they have a special use permit to authorize cryptocurrency mining, which I want to update the definition of high density load service, but I don't actually want to pull out cryptocurrency, which they have. No decision made, this is just throwing it out there. Okay, the other thing we take care of is bank authorization.
So we're gonna need a resolution for this, Jed?
Yep, for the bank authorization.
And then we're also going to need, some signatures from, Dale and Michelle.
Which we can do today, and the treasurer. One thing, you're an appointed clerk, not elected clerk.
Correct.
It's probably standard boilerplate.
Correct, I'll just cross that out where it says, elected and put appointed on the form.
Okay.
That is a standard form. That's a standard form from the bank.
Yeah. Just want to make sure there isn't an issue on that. Is this just a motion?
Yeah, that's.
Okay.
So
I
we
make a motion to, put the authorized people on the bank account. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm going to sign this.
Yeah, roll call vote on it first, or no?
You also,
Resolution, huh?
Jed, we do,
Tom is nodding yes, so I would say.
yeah,
Okay. You want to do the roll call, Bob?
yeah. Trustee Pelkey,
Aye.
trustee Bernard,
Aye.
trustee Rodriguez,
Aye.
trustee Arno,
Aye.
and Mayor Thune.
Aye.
So before we leave, if I could get everybody's signature, I would appreciate it.
That sounds not any better. Here you go. That's a terrible screw.
Are we signing this one, or are we gonna sign?
Yeah, and I'm gonna have you sign this one as well. This one was brought in after.
Oh.
So we just need to sign that one at the end?
No, you're gonna sign this with that one, and then I'll give you this one when we're done.
Okay. Trustee Arno.
The only thing I have tonight is, I'd like to thank the work group for the snow removal on the village streets today, and all the plowing they did. That's all I have for now.
Trustee Menard?
Thing here, I would like to thank all the work crews for snow removal. They did a good job over the weekend. We got a lot of snow in a little bit of time, and they did a great job. And I would like to thank the Civic Center here. The Civic Center looks good. We have been getting a lot of up skaters and a lot of hockey games in, and we've been doing a good job. And that's all I have for this one.
Trustee Pelkey?
Yes, I've been out talking to a lot of people, and they're asking questions about the village budget. And for some reason, they think that all the money comes out of one pool, out of one check, or whatever. Village budget is 4 different funds. General fund is subsidized by the land tax and sales tax. And the general fund, what that does is take care of our street department, our vehicles, our equipment, roads, sidewalks, signage, salt, some wages, our welcome center, our rec center during the summer months, the library, building repairs, fire department, EMS. One of the largest increases of this fund this year is our EMS contract with Champlain and Morris. This year it went up to $131,000. In the past, we had volunteers that used to take care of our ambulance service. Unfortunately, like every other organization, we don't have volunteers. We have to pay the contract. The water fund. The water fund is supported by the water rates. This fund is maintaining the water system. Most of it is a fixed cost, maintenance, wages, and the cost of our infrastructure debt. That will be paid off in full in the year 2024. That is one of the reasons why we are looking to the future for our new water bill. Hopefully by paying off our debt, applying for federal, state, and local grants, we can keep our costs about the same for our new water fund. That will supply us for many years to come. Our wastewater fund is also supported by wastewater rates. Most of these are fixed operating costs, maintenance, wages, and infrastructure debt. The debt will be paid off in the year of 2034 for our wastewater fund. Last summer, we came up with accepting waste from outside contractors to make more money to help support our wastewater fund. Our electric fund. Our electric fund is to maintain and supply power for our electric system. Through the years, we upgraded our substation and about 90% of our distribution system to underground. This is labor intensive and very costly for equipment and wire. This date, the village paid for all these upgrades as we did them. There is currently no debt with the electric department. So these are the four funds that take care of the village. I just wanted to clarify that, how these funds are paid out. So it's just not out of one general fund that pays for everything, or you can't take electric money and pay roads. So I just wanted to clear that up. The second thing is our water plant. There's rumors going around about the condition of our water plant, that it's on its last leg. I disagree with this statement. The water plant is two systems that produce water. Our Adams system can pump up to 1 million gallons a day. We used to use this system when Pfizer and Wyeth was in full force. The second system is called the industrial system. Was the oldest part of the water plant. 6 years ago, the board decided to go ahead and give the authorization to rehab the industrial system with funding from Betty Little's office and the IEC fund. We installed all new pumps, pipes, motors, and controls. This system has been supplying the village with water daily. This time of year, we pump about 250,000 gallons a day. In the summertime, we pump about 500,000 gallons a day. The biggest problem that I see is the water system is labor intensive. The filters are old technology and need to be upgraded. That's why another reason why we're looking at the new water plant. To this day, the health department said our water plant has no violations thanks to our staff for maintaining that they do in our water system. I just wanted to put that out there.
Our water staff has been absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. And we did all that work. All this work is done in-house by village forces. So that's something to be recognized, that they go above and beyond their duties and they really care about the
Our water crew has been brilliant. John Mechanic gets a special mention for the work we've done.
So that's all I have for tonight.
Trustee Rodriguez? Thank you, Brian, for breaking all that stuff down. We appreciate that.
Well, I think it's, people need to ask questions. I know, they like to come to the board meeting and sometimes with the live stream, they see us talk up here and they don't really understand, and everybody's always available to answer questions. I mean, we're out in the streets, we're out in the villages, we're out in the towns, we're everywhere. If you have a question you want to ask any one of us, we can answer it.
I also would just like to thank the village crew for the cleanup of all the snow and really appreciate it. So, any other reports?
The only other thing that we need to do, because you left early last month, Jed, is we need to make a resolution to appoint Jerry to the new position that we formed. That was accepted by the union.
Because all we did was just vote to make the position exist. Okay.
That's correct. So we're gonna need a motion and, to appoint Jerry to that position effective for January 18th. What I've done is I have it set up that he's been getting the new pay rate that we set as of the 18th, so we don't have to give him any back pay. But, legally, we still need a motion from the board to
I
move
think I should
forward.
make that motion. And I make the motion to appoint, Jerry Kubota to that position. Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Open the meeting to the public?
I have one, item, I need to have you guys get the budget sheets in. I don't have hardly too many, not much at all, I should say.
You got the fire department there?
Let's get them in, time's running short.
Joe has quite a few of them right
I
now.
do have the electric department.
Did you go over them with the department?
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay, good.
Can I get those in? I'm going over the wastewater tomorrow morning. At 10 o'clock, but
Perfect. Then we'll be in pretty good shape then.
my first is also, you say, yeah, I've got to sit down with them and do it. Oh, the fire department, let's do that. Yep. First time has this. Are you left-handed now? Yep. Sorry, but I can see the way that you sign, the way it reads. Okay, any other reports?
No, sir.
Opening meeting to the public. Sign-in sheet, where did I put that? Here's the sign-in sheet. Still okay. Adam Racine, I know you're on top.
Okay.
Stand up, name and address.
Adam Racine, address 34 Maple Street, Russell Point, New York. First of all, I just want to say, I don't know if it's Benny or Brian, but one of you two have been kind enough to plow out my father's driveway. And I just want to say thank you very much for helping him out. You know, he's got some back issues and everything like that, and I just want to say thank you.
We appreciate his service for what he's doing. Taking
Well,
over-
he
taking over his
appreciates,
mom's place.
he appreciates that very much, and Benny and Brian, thank you guys very much for that.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Anytime.
Yeah. I'll get on with this. My name is Adam Racine. I am the operations manager for Cobalt Energy. I was raised here in Rouses Point and have the pleasure to be hired as a local worker by Harry Atherton. He has been my mentor and a very personal close friend of mine. He gave me a wonderful opportunity to work for his company, and I graciously accepted it in Rouses Point, where my family lives, and I'm proud to work for a company that loves, hires, and appreciates military veterans and their spouses like Allison and Meredith did. I formerly worked for Pfizer for 14 years. I worked in Rouses Point for Pfizer, starting off in security, then becoming a security supervisor, then ending up as the head of IT operations in 2017. In October of 2018, I decommissioned personally with two of my crew members 1,300 servers, 2,000 computers, and destroyed over 7,800 server hard drives, all with Pfizer proprietary information on them. All these systems required a lot of power, and all of them ran at a 24/7 capacity nonstop at the Pfizer site. Decommissioning them and closing that down was a lot of work. At the time these systems were running, there was a total of only 20 employees employed at the site as we were closing down. My question to the board is this: why are these servers not allowed in the village of Rouses Point? Another question, is this a law? And if so, was what Pfizer did in 2018 through 2019 illegal, including the decades before as those servers were running? All these servers ran with the intention of data collection. That is the definition of a server. As an IT professional, I can tell you data collection is just data collection, nothing more. It's simple. I don't understand any pushback on technology being used by one company but not another. I would love this to be explained to me, especially since we have a company here willing to hire a large amount of local people, commit to veterans and women, and is facing harsh pushback, unfortunately, from the village every time we try to move forward in bringing in new jobs and success to the community in a place that I grew up in and I love very, very much. I live and work here. I don't want to move away ever again. I had to move away before. It was fun at first, but I miss my family, I miss my home. I really don't want to do it again. I love Rouses Point and the people here. Terry, Appleton, my boss, is a great man. And he's doing a great thing here for this community. I really think we should welcome him with open arms. And that's all I have to say. I want to thank you, Mr. Mayor, and distinguished members of the board for your time this evening. Sincerely and respectfully, thank you very much.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you. Meredith Taylor and Allison Dean.
Hi, can you hear me okay with that? I'm usually a low talker, so can you hear me okay? Okay, perfect. Well, for one, thank you so much for giving us this time to speak today. So my name is Meredith Taylor. I am the Chief Talent Officer for Conville Energy, which I'm sure you're aware of. But I'm also the COO for Military Wives, which is one of our sister companies, which focuses on the sales and developing businesses alongside with Conville. And so for one, thank you so much for giving us time today. I know you're gonna ask my residents, but as a military spouse, that's kind of a trick question. So I'm a Rhode Island resident, but currently residing in Portram. So we're not currently in Rouses Point. And so I just wanted to come up today and talk about a couple of things. You know, as a talent officer, my focus is to work with the community to help to connect with community members, to help people find jobs, and then to also build the business itself. And so going through and kind of looking through social media and those kind of outlets, it was a little disturbing, to be honest, to find out some of the rumors that are going around. So one of the things that I wanted to kind of dispel today was a rumor regarding Harry, our CEO, about, well, I guess maybe because he does business internationally, so he's been asked if he's taking bribes or dealing with corrupt dealings or whatnot, because he's worked in challenging countries. So I just wanted to come up and make sure that it's clear that that rumor is false and it doesn't have any legs to stand on. The second reason I wanted just to come and to really express is that we're an American company. We're dedicated to supporting American jobs, and we're focused on sustainability, which includes clean power, greenhouses, helping to grow and localize food production, and all by improving technology. So we want to hire and we want to support the growth in the community. And it's really unfortunate to have to tell you that of the 40 people that we've hired since being here, that we've had to let go of 30 of which, because of the not getting the support from the community and multiple assets. So again, I wanted to come up today just to really kind of express our disappointment and to put out a hand and to ask for the support in order to build the community, to build as a business, and to really, you know, open that branch and say, like, we want to be here, this is a great community, and we want to be able to work alongside with everybody.
So if I can tag in too, my name is Allison Beeman. I am currently the Chief of Staff for ACO Investment, which is our overall big company, and I work alongside with Meredith in Military Wives. I too am a military spouse. I personally grew up in Rochester, New York, so I am somewhat familiar with the area, but my husband and I have been in the Army now for the last 15 years. But tagging off of what Meredith has said, we are truly a company that wants to give back. We have come here multiple times and we have said we are willing to cooperate. We want to continue to invest within your town and pull from that to create our business and to hire within and really continue to foster the relationship with Rouses Point. We have all of our businesses we've built from the start up. So we have ground up, we have done everything ourselves. We have a digital platform, we can assist with things in that matter as well. But we love to be able to execute everything on our own. We have done very much in the last couple of months within America. And like we have a plant out in Oregon, and it's a 300,000 square foot factory that we have dismantled 115,000 pieces of equipment in 13,000 man hours and with a 40-person crew. Again, we have continued to come and say that we are here, we will provide the supplemental power if we have the increased consumption, and we're willing to negotiate the rider. We continue to urge the board, please come with us, work with us, come see what we're doing so that we can come together in the middle and move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Scott? How do I pronounce your last name?
Richner.
Richner.
Scott Richner, 16 Pratt Street. As you probably know, I've been out in the community talking to people, and one of the things I keep hearing is they're dissatisfied that when people bring issues to the board either doesn't have an immediate answer, which is perfectly reasonable, or it's never readdressed at the next meeting, which Trustee Pelkey, you know, he's showing tonight that he's bringing the concerns to the public forum and I think that's definitely a step in the right direction for, you know, one of the things I've been doing. I mean, last meeting, I had just jotted a couple of things down here. There was a concern over the permits at the demolition of the ERS site. I mean, that was a 30-second search on eCode that building permits shall be visibly displayed at the work site and shall remain visible until the authorized work is completed. You know, just simple things like that. I think people are getting frustrated that people are asking questions and not getting answers. The only other thing I have, I mean, is to address the elephant in the room, the dysfunction in the board. There's one board member out of a 5-member board that has not either asked someone to resign or been asked to resign. So the time and effort going into asking people to resign and fighting with each other, I think would be much better spent negotiating with prospective businesses that want to move in here, that sort of thing. The fighting amongst yourselves, nobody expects you guys to be best friends, but I think the dysfunction is just, it's making the village as a whole look bad and calling for resignations. I mean, the board is an elected, everybody's an elected position. If anybody should be asking you to resign or whatever, it should be by the constituents, which there was a petition. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about in between yourselves. So, I mean, I just like to see more working together, less fighting on issues, because from what people are saying to me, the way they see it, is a lot of the issues are being, they're being voted on as personal issues, not village-wide issues. Things are being decided on grudges.
I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I'm hearing out in the community. So, I mean, as a whole, everybody just wants to see a little more cooperation between the board. Thank you.
Well, thank you. All right. Wait, can't read the book. May not even be approved. Next time I have to write please, because if it's cursive, I can't read it. It's kind of hard to make out. Ray Wayman?
Thank you, Ray Wayman, 14 Priscilla Lane. I had some notes here, but I want to go off of what Adam and his partners said. I really don't get the concept of why a major company wants to invest in our village and they have to send representatives to beg to invest in our village. Now, from what I understand, for the agricultural greenhouses, there's an issue with zoning and permits. So, and I understand zoning it's a long, slow process to change zoning. But can a variance be issued to allow them to build greenhouses? Now, from what I've read and understand and research I've done, greenhouses are the way of the future. It's leading edge technology. They're doing it in Rochester. They're doing it in several other places in New York. They're growing fruits and vegetables in a greenhouse vertically, supplying local communities, creating jobs in communities. And when they do their greenhouses, they're not going to be digging up the concrete there or anything like that. They're going to be using power. They're going to be using water that will increase our revenues from those sources. Now, thank you for explaining the budget. I can only guess, though, that with the decreased amount of water and electricity that's been over years, that money was spent in the village, and now it's not spent in the village, so it comes out of one of those pots. So I would only surmise that at some point in time, if we don't replace that revenue, there's going to be a significant tax increase to replace that revenue. Or, according to you, Mr. Pelkey, the budget is perfectly fine and we don't need that revenue. Is that true? We don't need revenue?
No, we do need revenue. We're sustaining. We're not going backwards. We're always looking to go forward. We're paying our bills.
We're paying our bills.
Yeah.
We're getting by, as a lot of people are.
Right.
But we've cut the police department. We have, who knows what equipment needs to be fixed or replaced.
Yeah.
We don't have the money. Rec center roof might need fixing and replacing. We have no money. We need to get money somewhere. Taxes seem to go up as a last resort. I think it's coming. So anyway, that's my statement on that. But you made it a little more clear, though, where money's coming from different pots.
Right.
So I get it. So I just want to ask Mr. Arnold. I want to give you a chance to clear this up, because I think you misspoke last board meeting. You stated when you received a letter regarding the investigation into Mr. Pelkey's abuse of employees, you said you didn't share it with the mayor because it was confidential. Did you mean you didn't share it with the public because it was confidential, but you did share it with the board?
I didn't share it with nobody. Nobody. It was addressed to me. Benjamin J. Arnold, Village of Rouses Point.
Okay,
Okay?
so you didn't share it with any other board members?
No,
You didn't share it with anybody?
no.
So what did you expect should happen with that letter? Like it just go in the drawer somewhere forever?
No idea. When I talked to the person that sent me the letter on the information and stuff like that, she told me it was confidential and to do nothing with it. Why she told me that, I have no idea. What you ought to do is you ought to call her up.
Okay, but it was addressed to the board.
No, it wasn't addressed to the board. It was addressed to me.
Okay, so you were supposed to just keep that letter secret and no one would know about his abuse? Is that,
I'm just gonna put it
Now,
okay, well,
You can't say that.
we'll put it
was
into
abuse.
this.
Alleged.
Well, the investigation was founded, but, okay, you say there's two sides. We'd like to hear your side.
That's up to Mr. Murnane.
Well, right now, it's time for public comment, and
Thank you.
really make your comment.
Thank you.
Charmaine?
No, I just signed it because you said whoever
Oh.
attending the board meeting.
Okay, yeah, this was meant for whoever wanted to speak.
Oh,
Who wants to speak? Ashley?
I mean, I didn't sign in, I didn't even sign it, but yeah,
I thought you were.
okay.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I do have a question for the ladies that came, the chief of staff of the company here. 30 people, maybe you could shed a little light on the titles of what's happening or what you're employing these people to do. And any major company, as anyone knows, doesn't just let go of 30 people because of a community. So, can you just shed a little light on that for us? Because since we've had this conversation, nobody wants to say what is even happening at this facility. So, as a community, with people that live there, at school there, I mean, your mothers, your wives, you have probably the same concerns if you had this happening in your community. So, could you please tell us what they're hired for and why they were suddenly let go? I mean, one major observation was the security was quite decreased since the last meeting. Maybe that was the 30 people that were let go. I don't know.
Right, so part of the employees were construction. So, as the building was, we had to do some demolition, rebuilding, restructuring, that kind of stuff. And additionally, security as well.
Thank you.
Dean?
John?
I signed him into it. I'm
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
same here, Dad, with me. I was here for the earlier session with the 911 issue.
Okay. And that is everybody on there. So the catch-all for one last go. Say your name.
Steve Lambert, 22 Academy. I must have signed the other sheet. I'm sorry. Adam, in your group, I really appreciate Harry's candidness and his openness with everything. I think that everyone has to realize that Harry and his group are going to be a tenant of ERS, and that has not been clear. I have no problem with Harry and what you're going to do. It's over the top. It really is good. Couple places that you want to look at online. There's a 64-acre greenhouse in, I think it's called Moorhead, Kentucky. Look it up. It's called AppShare. You get an idea as to what these folks are all about. I have no problem with Harry and his company.
He's never built a greenhouse. Can we just clarify that? I'm sorry to speak out of turn, but unless I'm misunderstood, he has never built a greenhouse.
Well,
Orville and Wilbur Wright never built an airplane either, and they did, so there they go.
But you know what? Now,
Just, we're not in a public hearing.
Time out.
I would like, so you can finish your comment.
He's going through the right process. He's going through our zoning board. If our zoning laws are good, it should be, the process will work out. and he's taking the right approach. I have a problem with his landlord, okay? My background is 40 years in community banking, which means I worked with people like you, mortgages, home equities, whatever the issue was that they came into the bank. I also worked with companies, and I also, excuse me, I'm a little nervous. I also went through renovations of our own facilities. So I know the process. You've got to take your time, or whatever. I don't think Mr. ERS, whoever he is, and I don't know him, but I don't think that he has approached this community in the right way. He hasn't been open, and he hasn't let us know what's going on in there. When we started the renovation of our house, people would come on that corner and look at Pfizer, and they would weep. They would weep because of what that company did. What I see in the village is a concern that we let this big company in, and they'll have us down with their thumb. And that's not what we want. We would like some openness from ERS to say, okay, guys, let's just be open, okay? Show us what you're doing. None of these people here are anti-business. I haven't talked to anybody in town that is anti-business. They welcome it. Now, in my 40 years of banking, I had maybe 10 customers that won the lottery. And I mean, they won big money. 5 million, 4.5 million, 3 million. They weren't from where I was, some was from Connecticut, some was from Yonkers. They all had different stories. But the commonality that they had was they all had a commonality of losing relationship within their family, within their community, because they won the lottery. Suddenly they had all the money. I look at it in many ways, but the one thing that comes back is that Rouses Point has won the lottery in many ways. I mean, I've worked in Essex County, I've worked over in Vermont, I've worked in Burlington. There's no village anywhere that has a facility like this. We're very, very lucky, okay? But at the same time, it's right smack in the middle of a residential area. And that's what the concern of everybody that I'm talking with is concerned about. I wish Mr. ERS was here because I'd tell him he hasn't been a good neighbor. There's trucks in the middle of the night. I don't know what they're doing. There's police going in. I don't know what they're doing. There's noises that go on. There's junk outside. When we first moved in, I walked up and down the street and I introduced myself. Because, nobody knew me. I'm not from here. But I have a stake here. And we understand that, it's an investment on their part. But it's where we live. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Quick question about the electric bill this month.
Oh,
When we got our bill, it said that the system's peak demand was met on December 12th. Once that happens, does that mean that we stayed in that supplemental range for the entire month? And will continue to be there? I mean, my bill went up $55. That's a lot of money. So if it hit that peak December 20th, and my bill was from 1228 to 126, I paid that supplemental amount. And I know that you were talking about paying, excess money if we hit that peak, is it gonna happen? Did it happen? Can I forward my bill to somebody? That's my concern right now. So can somebody answer that question? Are we still there at that peak?
My bill actually went down.
Pardon?
My bill actually went down.
I'm sorry.
My bill actually went down.
Oh, you're lucky. Mine went
I
up.
might have to check, I'll have to check that tomorrow.
My bill,
So stay,
Yeah, your bill.
I'm sorry.
The February first bills are there's a 2 month lag, in billing. So what that peak demand is saying is that your February first bill is being billed on your usage for January, but it's also being billed on the village's peak demand as of 2 months prior. So that particular bill there for February is billed on the peak demand that the village hits on December 20th, I think it is, at 9 a.m. in the morning, okay? The first 13.7 MW of energy use, or the demand used by the village is hydro. Anything after that, that's when you go into supplemental. So technically, you're not paying supplemental right now. We have not hit that on that particular bill, but you will see a difference next month's bill.
So we'll fluctuate and go back down.
No, it will go back up. It'll go up even further.
What causes that?
Because you're over the 13.7.
Is it usage?
It'll be,
Is there a particular reason why, that is gonna spike? Is there a certain company that might be drawing more power than they're telling us that they're not? Is there one area, or is it everybody in the village that's using more electricity?
it'll be a combination of the new company that has moved in, and the fact that we've had a lot of days below zero, had more than twice as many days below zero this year as we did last year.
3 times.
3 times.
But you can't, I guess my question is, and the man over there talked about ERS not being open as when they first came into town, there was a big article in the Plattsburgh Press Republican. He was standing there, we were watching the demolition, Susan Moore wrote the article. Wanted to be a good neighbor, wanted to be transparent. But yeah, when all our village board members asked what they were doing in the building, and our safety code officer, which I believe a code enforcement officer should be able to see what is the business that they're doing in their building at 64 Maple. Yet we always get the same answer. We can't go in if the employees, and these people are gonna maybe be partners with the company. Are the employees so excited about it? Why aren't they showcasing and letting the employees talk to us? Why aren't the employees coming in and tell us what their business is? Maybe I want to come out of retirement and go work for them. I think that the problem is everybody in the village is transparent except for one company. And we can't get there. What happens if our fire department gets a call for an electrical or whatever fire? How are they supposed to know what to combat? I live next door to Bell and Delegard. They have alcohol tanks that are bordering my property. I remember Mayor Rivers, the chief of the fire department, said, if something happens in that building, your house will be leveled. I said, geez, thanks very much, Mr. Rivers. I'm very confident that I'll have a good night's sleep tonight. But I know that the people at Telegard have all their alcohol tanks grounded. The fire department comes and checks them out. Everybody does the safety check. But yeah, all we're asking, and I think all the residents of the village, that money that we're going to be paying from our electrical, just supplemental power, it's coming out of my pocket to go in Michael Miranda's electronic wallet. And we, as village residents, are not gonna see 1 penny of that supplemental power. We are paying for their power. It's coming out everybody's electrical ratepayer, if it's $5 or $10 or $20. We, the village residents, are paying for it. Our infrastructure is gonna cost us more money. Our ice arena, the fire department, anything that runs in the village residents are gonna end up paying for it. That's all I asked last time. I said, I don't care, as long as they're doing something that's legal. There's a village law in effect that was passed 2019, local law number 2, that anything with currency mining, database, that goes over a certain limit is not legal. And every day that that person or that company runs over the amount, they're legal at $1,000 a day. So all I think that we all want to just say, be transparent, show us what you're doing, and maybe we'll be more than happy to pay the higher rate. But as it stands right now, I don't think anyone in this village wants to put money in their wallet.
Right.
That you're never gonna see.
They're paying supplemental as well? They're paying the
It
supplemental.
doesn't matter if it's $1, Mayor, if it's going into his wallet out there at 64 Maple, I don't want my dollar. You can give them yours or anybody else, but I don't want my dollar going there. I want to give it to my grandkids.
They're paying supplemental as well, and they want to talk about rider A so that you're not paying supplemental. But we haven't had the opportunity to have that discussion.
Well, yes, anything that's gonna alleviate, if they can come to an agreement, and there's, in the city of Plattsburgh, they have an outstanding, they demanded from Coinman 2 months' time was $2 million electrical charges. And we can ask them to have, like you would if you were renting a place, you can ask them to put down a detainer so that in the event, in the middle of the night, they pick up and leave, that the village doesn't get stuck with the electrical charge. He already said it's 2.5 months delayed, so the next couple months it's gonna be more. So yes, if we can come to an agreement, then let's go for it, as long as they don't violate local law number 2, passed in 2019, that says they won't. And if they are, maybe they can explain it.
One last thing that I think would help clarify things for people that are watching. I think the simplest way to look at, and if I'm saying anything wrong, someone please stop me and correct me, for the benefit of everyone in the community. But the best way to think of the property at 64 Maple Street, we have a tenant who we think is this ERS, so he's a hotel owner, right? And we have numerous hotel rooms that are getting rented out. Harry's company is renting out one of these rooms. It's very confusing for people in the company because they hear Harry, they hear ERS. People are like, I don't even really know what's going on. I mean, what is actually happening? Greenhouses are great. Yeah, greenhouses are fantastic. So again, we have this hotel owner, ERS, who we're not quite sure about. We have a known tenant, Harry. We also had another tenant, Michael Miranda, who was a cryptocurrency magnate wanted by the FBI. He's also a tenant. I'm not sure if he currently is. I'm hoping he's not. Maybe that's a change that happened last meeting, and that's why the security's gone. Maybe the servers are now moved to a different place. He got indicted because he allegedly stole about 600 servers, scraped the serial numbers off of them, and they were gone. They couldn't find them. I mean, this is on the internet. You can find it. The U.S. Marshals went in, tried to find them. They were gone. So it would be really great if there was a ledger, like, you come into a hotel, oh, this is the first floor, this is where the ice machine is. How about at that facility, right in the middle of our residential area, there was a sign of the tenant, and then who's in there, so that we can help Harry succeed in his greenhouse attempt. That has never been done in the USA before, and they've actually never.
Well, not by him. Greenhouses have been done in the USA.
But the way he wanted to construct the greenhouses, he was saying that he was going to harness the heat from the servers. He said that in front of everyone. It's actually never been done in the U.S. They're trying to do it in, I think, Denmark, but It's really difficult to do, obviously,
Well,
and the heat that's being
Well,
put out, I don't know, I'm not an
right,
expert.
so-
But I don't think it's wrong that we have questions about it, that's
So
all.
I've,
That's all.
Their logistics to figure out. More what you're looking for is actually kind of like a shopping mall. You go into the shopping mall, there's a list of all the stores.
Just so it's, again, transparent, so we can all be confident that legal things are happening here.
So two CSR came here to have a meeting. I forgot the exact date, but it's available on YouTube. And you know, the CEO came, right, and he had a language barrier. He was a little bit difficult to understand, but I got it. So they want to work with, they want to move Hudson River Trading from New York City to here. Hudson River Trading trades stocks and bonds and our retirement accounts and all that stuff, and they have algorithms and they sell and buy, you know, for Wall Street. They want to move that data center here because it's cheaper. So CSRI, two CSRI was very
Why is it cheaper here
upfront.
because of our electricity?
And they, yes, but let me tell you what. So they want to move here. So two CSRI said they want to build a data center, and they said they also are going to manufacture data servers for sale, and they're going to use liquid cooled technology to cool their servers and those kinds of things. But yes, they want our cheaper electricity, exactly as advertised on our website. It says, come to Rouses Point for cheap electricity, multiple places. However, they want to, well, I don't know about them, but I know Harry has talked about having a rider for supplemental electricity to pay. It's cheaper for them to pay the regular rate plus supplemental than it is to pay for NICEAG rates. So if we can have them have a rider that says whatever supplemental, they're going to foot the bill and not affect the residents, that's a good thing. I don't care what they're doing there, as long as we don't pay. I think we're on the same page, Mr. Bruce. As long as we don't pay,
As long as it's legal.
and they have a rider.
Well, yeah, but
Of course it's going to be legal.
We're arguing for these people when there is our attorney right there. Mr. Manane, all you gotta do is say, since you're great friends with him, just say, contact our attorney and let's go see what you got, and then let's draw up a contract.
Well, I think they want to negotiate with the board about this rider, but somebody hasn't reached out to someone and that meeting hasn't
Don't blame
happened
these
yet.
guys
or
here. Don't be blaming the
doesn't
village board.
happen.
Call time out now.
So,
Because it is 9:16.
yes, you're right.
So some of us have work tomorrow. Or in half an hour.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to have one question for you. I think there's a lot of confusion and misinformation. I think you need to explain to the residents that ERS owns the property and is the landlord.
Yeah, ERS.
Correct.
Yeah.
How many businesses are in 64 Maple
I only know.
sharing the same meter box? How many businesses are in there?
I only know of 3.
3 businesses sharing the same meter box.
With Cobalt Energy has been announced. RPNY Holdings, which wants to manufacture the mobile trailers, server trailers, that's been announced in the press release, and 2 CRSI. Those are the 3 companies that have been announced that are in the property. I know of no. There's only 3 companies.
Just to make that clear and fair for all the tenants.
Either like in the sun or the pressure funnel.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, did you get an opportunity to visit the site lately, recently, or at any time?
I was there one time to look at, they had a sewer issue. And I looked at their diagrams and said, this is on your property. It was 300 feet back from the property line, but this is not a village problem. And that was it. But I haven't been in the building.
Okay. Just thought I'd ask, since you know that there's 3 properties there.
Do you think that's safe as a mayor to not be in a business that's saying they're going to bring all of this great job opportunities. So you think as a mayor, it would be great to step inside, take a look, and just, ensure us that, hey guys, this is gonna be great, like they said.
It's private property. I can ask, they can invite me, but it requires their permission. Like, I've been invited, I got a quote in August, our test building, it says, Steve Bond invited me. And I asked for a couple of tours, I asked for Belgium.
They'll give you a tour any day. Yeah. I don't think there's a business in this village that would say, no, except for.
And I generally don't ask.
Thank you, board members, for letting us kind of have a lively discussion.
Thank you.
It's been a very lively discussion.
I know we've gone the rules and all those kinds of things, and we've had debate between opposing sides, but, we need to have these kinds of forum, and maybe an open forum that's not a board meeting, where these things can be discussed, not on a time limit, maybe moderated, might be an opportunity we could have, because the board members are becoming a place to have discussion, which I don't think is the right place to have discussion.
Yeah, strictly speaking,
Thank you.
It's not entirely, but at the same time, this is kind of the only time you as residents of the village get to sit down with all the board at the same time to talk, to share your concerns, talk to us.
Right. But maybe we could have a couple of town halls, perhaps before the election, to discuss these things. As our son says, really, this is not the place to discuss these things.
Okay, your battery is dying here,
Okay,
so.
all right, I'm done. Thank you.
I make myself available, I'm retired, I've been meeting with people around the village, anytime, any place. I'll meet with anybody. And if there's questions I can answer, I'll answer.
Must have not have been fully charged.
Well, it should have been fully charged, but that's fine. Say, are you on the school board?
Yes.
Are they going to go ahead and put
That was when it was so then they decide, because I had the other guy verify that we're recording, I said, see, we're recording. But it turns out. I can go up there.